Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday, and it's a beautiful day. It's been about a month or so since I posted my last video, so I just wanted to show you all what I've been up to, what I've been doing, some projects, some ideas, but here we go. All right, guys, I hope everyone's having a good day. I know in the last video I showed you I went over some of my hydroponic updates, especially with this garden right here using the 4-inch PVC pipes with using the 27-gallon containers as a reservoir. I really like the progress that these guys have been making. Given the root space, I'm still experimenting. Does not seem to be hurting them so far. I do check the roots periodically, and they're definitely tight packed in there, but it's not like up above the water level. It's not causing overflows, and that's fine. What made me really want to try this is I saw a lot of people doing these little tiny Dutch bucket systems, with these little buckets, and they had perlite in there and a dripper, and these tomatoes would get massive, and they did perfectly fine. So I did a lot of thinking and researching, and it's like, well, why are they able to get away with growing tomatoes in such little tiny buckets, yet something like this isn't possible? And so I now am pretty sure it's a matter of nutrient density, and you need to make sure that you keep the nutrition optimal in these reservoirs so that every single set of roots are receiving adequate nutrition. The roots in turn will not keep looking around for more nutrients if they have everything they need right there. Another important factor is to make sure there's enough water, that the roots stay submerged, but not so much water that the roots bulk up in the entirety of the pipe, only up to about maybe half the level. So that's why you don't want the water level to go all the way up to the edge of the pool noodles, because then you're going to risk overflow issues. You're going to risk roots coming up that high causing issues. So this was a lot of trial and error to get these up and running properly. I did actually help another gentleman. He's a member of the Rare Fruit Council here in the Tampa area. He's now got a system up and running similar to these, and so far it sounds like everything's working and growing well for him. And it looks like might start going around and helping some others do the same thing. So that's awesome. I love the fact that this, once you get it built, is so straightforward. It seems to be very efficient. It's a very good use of space, and so much of use of space that I built this tiered system. I'll kind of get a good angle here. But as you can see, I have 2 sets now side by side, and I really like the fact that you can do so many cells or areas or spaces for growing in such a small square footage real estate. I'm really impressed. And what I did here is I've got some tomatoes growing. Surprise, right? I've got some tomatoes growing here. These 4 are actually a really cool variety called Pianolo del Vesuvio. They are a very, very old heirloom variety of tomato that the Italians grow at the base of Mount Vesuvius. Actually, it might not be. No, I don't think it's at the base. I think it's up on the mountain. And these particular tomatoes love the volcanic soil. They're very nutrient rich. And in turn, they produce these tomatoes with a thicker skin. And these tomatoes can last for a shelf life of, as far as I've learned, 6 months to even a year. They tie them up and they hang them. And they are awesome, and the longer you let them sit, the sweeter they become. So I'm really looking forward to these. Trying to keep the nutrient profile similar to that of a volcanic soil, which is very nitrogen rich. extremely high nitrogen, definitely some potassium and phosphorus in there too. So I'm just making sure it's got everything it needs to supply growth. And I just transplanted these guys from my inside arrow garden 2 days ago. The thing that's surprising me is the transplant shock, just the fact that, I'm going to this Florida heat outside from an inside temperature, ambient, 72 degrees or so, is pretty impressive. Now they're being beaten by the sun, and they're tough. I am really impressed by these tomatoes, and I'll show you why. We go down the line, and then we come to these guys, which these are some rooted cuttings I took from my hydroponic setup I built for my parents on their lanai. They're supposed to be Pizzutello tomatoes. Unfortunately, I looked up Pizzutello tomatoes because they have a few clusters there. They are supposed to have the little nipple on the bottom of them, and they're supposed to grow kind of similarly to the Pianolo del Vesuvio. They don't have the nipple. They actually look like they just are cherry tomatoes. But the thing that I do like about these is they seem to be highly disease resistant. The leaves are extremely dark green, which is telling me that they're very happy and healthy. So I said, whatever, I will, I'll take a couple and I'll grow them in the system, and I want to see how they do. This one right here is a red oxheart tomato. Again, these were outside and they're, cuttings, granted, but the root shock or the shock they're getting just being transplanted is so much different than these. So these are really tough. I might have to be growing these every year depending on how well they do when it comes to the fruiting stage. So I thought that was cool. So I'll go down the line a little bit. I am trying a few different things in this system. I gave this thing 15-inch spacing on either side, so they have 7.5 inches on both sides for root space, which, it's arguably not a lot. That's why I'm testing it. I mean, they're probably going to go into each other's root space, and the one thing I'm going to try and avoid is competition for nutrients. So if I start seeing that as an issue, it's an easy fix, honestly. I'll just start taking some cells out, and we'll just allow more spacing. That's what I like about this system. Very easy, very flexible. And another option is to just do determinate style tomatoes. Determinate roots do not get nearly as big. The plants do not get nearly as big. There are some really, really good cultivars of determinate tomatoes that produce crazy amounts. Like the one I'm growing over at my father's, it's Little Napoli. It's a determinate variety, also from Italy. It is loaded with tomatoes. I mean, and they're good sauce tomatoes. I've grown them in years past, and they are very sweet. They make a good sauce. So there's a solution right there if I need a smaller, system. But another cool thing I thought about doing was you could do a rack and stack system. You could have 2 feet spacing, do another one on a notch, a squared up notch. You slide it in, 2 feet, do another one, 2 feet, So you would have a bunch of these little Napolis growing, and they don't get very tall at all. They're actually more of a bushy style, so they would actually do more hanging. So you'd have a bunch of like hanging style tomatoes. I think it would look really, really cool. So there's a lot of cool things I'm going to be doing in the future. But for now, this is what I wanted to test, was a tiered system. I love basil. I love basil so much that I'm growing 10 of them now. And a friend of mine and one of my hydroponic groups recommended, it's like the lettuce leaf, which this is lettuce leaf basil. They recommended one called mammoth basil. So my wife came out and helped me. She planted 9 mammoth basils. Their mammoth basil is supposed to be like the lettuce leaf basil, but stronger flavor, like the sweet basils or some of the really nice pesto varieties. Like you like a really good pesto with a nice basil flavor. This is supposed to be the real deal for that. And you get a lot of leaf, for what you need. You don't have to pick so many. Or if you want to make a really good Neapolitan style pizza, the leaves apparently make really good, topping for a pizza. So there's a lot of nice options with basil. We use it all the time in a lot of different things. So I figured, why not? So I was getting back to I got sidetracked. But so I'm trying out a zucchini. This is a parthenocarpic zucchini, which, if you don't know what parthenocarpy is a variety that is really ideal for greenhouses. And I guess I didn't cover this, but this is a giant hoop house that I built out of PVC. It's very secure, actually. It's survived a few windstorms already. We had one night, it was 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and it's doing well. So it acts as a trellis for these tomatoes, which is great. It's super sturdy. I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's the best one I've done yet, for sure. It's held by zip tie systems on the pipes, so it's a self-supporting because of the weight of the water. It's always supporting itself. Anyways, so for greenhouse applications, this is parthenocarpic, which means it requires no pollination. So it's going to fruit, it's going to produce more female flowers, and those female flowers will fruit. And that's not to say it can't be pollinated. It can be pollinated, but the fruits that develop without pollination will actually be mostly seedless. There may be some, an occasional seed or two. There might be some really tiny undeveloped seeds. And it's not that it's GMO, it's that these are a mutation actually in the plant. There are ways to get parthenocarpy unnaturally, but as far as I know, this is a natural seed. So I thought that was really cool. This is a parthenocarpic cucumber. So same thing. It just guarantees you a lot more cucumbers without having to worry. Not that I have a bee problem. I keep Biden's alba all over the yard. So it's a native Florida flower. The bees love it. There's a honeybee right there, and they go for everything. But anyways, so we have that as well, guaranteed cucumbers, and I just want to try a little bit of everything to see how they do in the system. But next on the list, I have a really interesting Italian heirloom pepper. This is one called Pepperone, and these are a very thin-walled, thin-flesh pepper. They're sweet, and these both are actually Pepperone. But they grow into these, I think they're like 6-inch long. They have a kind of a chili pepper profile to them, but they don't have the chili pepper heat, just sweetness. But they are thin-walled, so a lot of people will hang them to dry in bunches, and they'll just do it in the air outside in the sun, and they will get all crisped up, and they will top them on different Italian dishes, or many applications. But the cool thing about it is, supposedly, it has the flavor of pepperoni. And who doesn't like pepperoni? I guess I know a few people. Anyways, I do like pepperoni, and the idea of having this flavor, on a light occasion, so it's a lighter way to get that flavor into your dish, is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to be experimenting with these. I want to see what they do. I want to see if it actually tastes like pepperoni, or if it gives it that nice flavor, if it's worth growing. So we're going to find out pretty soon. Over here is a transplant I transplanted from one of my Kratky setups. It's a little anemic right now. I think it was lacking nitrogen, but it should start recovering here really soon. But it's among my favorites by far. It's Sugar Rush peach pepper, and it is just fantastic. It's got the heat. They say 50 to 100,000, but I've never had one that hot. I would say the heat is comparable to a jalapeno. If you deseed it and take the membrane out, it's really, really mild, and you still get a really sweet peach flavor. And I kid you not, it actually has a peach-like flavor, a little bit vegetal flavor as well. But holy cow, if you like jalapeno pepper poppers with the cream cheese and all that, these are like a whole nother level of that. If you give these a try, you may never want to go jalapeno again. We'll see. If you've had these and you have a different opinion about them, let me know. But the only downside to these is that they do take a little bit to grow and ripen. They produce a ton, but they can take like 2 months to ripen up to orange. And so because of that, I'm trying to actually take some cuttings. Rooting cuttings of these, I just learned the other day, you have to cut them at specific areas, at nodes, and you have to cut them at a 45-degree angle and put them in a dark place. So here's that dark place, and here's a little cutting I'm taking. I'm experimenting with it, Supposedly it's supposed to take about 2 weeks to get a cutting, but as you can see, I still have peppers on here. It's a lot of people in my family, it's their favorite pepper, especially my nephew. It's really good on pizza. There's no reason not to have it as far as I'm concerned. And then with these 4 cells right here, they're up in the air right now. I do still want jalapenos. I do like the application jalapenos. They do have a different flavor profile, and variety is the spice of life. So I'm going to probably do 2 jalapenos and then 2 more Sugar Rush peach peppers in here. So I'll have 4 Sugar Rush, 2 jalapenos, and then 10 basils, and then we'll be on our way. I have not really gone into depth about these 10 Fingers of Naples yet and how they're doing. I did mention they're doing very well, and that is true. I have noticed that these tomatoes are a little more susceptible to blight than I was hoping. I've had to take some leaves off and keep kind of pinching it as we go. However, it is growing extremely fast. I just clipped this, to support it like a few days ago, right? I've already gotten that much growth in like 3 days, if not even quicker. It's unbelievably crazy how fast these are growing. Again, I think it's the fact that they're getting the nutrients they want, the nutrients they need, and that's really cool. I don't know if you'll notice, but they have a really interesting, unique coloring on the new growth. It's almost a purple. Typically, it's a sign of a phosphorus issue, like a low or high phosphorus. So I'm kind of watching that. If it stays, then there's a chance that I added too many or not enough nutrients. So it's easy fix. But anyways, yeah, if you are trying to figure out what's wrong with tomatoes, they usually talk to you. It's just learning what the signs are, what different things mean. I did notice there was some tip burn on some of these, so yeah, I added some calcium, magnesium to it about a week ago, and there was some tip burn going on, and they weren't super happy with it. But I also wanted to avoid blossom end rot. I know paste tomatoes are often susceptible to blossom end rot, so it's just a precaution, but I might have added a little too much. I've since then flushed out my tank, and it looks like they're back to normal. Looking really good though. I mean, the flower clusters are phenomenal. They also have a very unique growth habit. This is the 10 Fingers of Naples, but they produce these truss branches, and they will produce tomatoes on these branches, but then they grow like another tomato plant, and then they continue to produce more fruit. And I've never seen a plant quite like that. So I find that fascinating. And I mean, look at the truss on that. And some of you might not be as big of a tomato nerd as I am, but these are little things I look for that are pretty impressive. Is production and how many tomatoes can produce on a single cluster. It looks like these guys are truly a high producer. So if I can get over the blight situation, I haven't sprayed anything yet, so I do have that option. But if I can't get over the blight issue, this is going to be one I grow for a long time. I mean, look at that. There's going to be a ton on there. I don't know. No complaints as far as production's concerned. I mean, we've got lots of fruits, no doubt about it. And speaking of bees, here's my bok choy, and yeah, look at them all. They love it. So it's always good to have something that can feed the bees in your yard, so that they also will go for things that you want to grow for yourself, which granted, the other bok choy I did take and freeze. That one I'm leaving as a food source for them. So yeah, here's another cluster, and honestly, they all have impressive clusters coming. I did run into some issues with leveling of the pipe. So at the end, like this structure was not long enough, 4 feet long to support a 10-foot long pipe. No, it's not good. What I would recommend is you do at least 6 feet long, at least, and then you can put it in the middle and then have your pipe sitting off both ends. It's caused a lot of flow issues, a little bit of overflowing, which I did fix. I bought some some string that's actually it's made of Kevlar, and now that Kevlar, it's like got a, I think it's got like 150, 200 pound test limit. But I'm using both of these to tie to my trellis up there to pull and lift the pipes up. And for now, at least, I'm thinking about building a support ultimately. But other than that, I have not had any malfunctions out of this one. And that one over there is even more foolproof. Learning from my mistakes and going forward, building better things. So, yeah, I mean, even the little guys, already some flower clusters on here. These guys are not 10 Fingers of Naples. These guys are actually giant garden paste. They are a hybrid, but I grew these last year, and they produced a very impressive size paste tomato. It just would definitely help, you know, because I'm looking to do a lot of canning this year and tomato soups and things like that. So I'm really looking to up my game as much as I can. But this one's already producing flowers, and it's not tall at all maybe 7 inches. This one right here is already starting its second flower cluster. It's got one right there, and this one right here on the end is another oxheart tomato cutting that I took from my father's. So yeah, these guys right here, I want to say are mushroom basket, which I don't know. If I had known what I know now, I might not have grown them here. They're not very tolerant of hot weather, and Florida gets hot quickly. My hope is that I can get a few clusters out before it gets too hot. The heat of the summer, usually in May or June, it's gonna hit. But another option I have is I have this. I can put a shade cloth over the top, and that might prolong my season a little bit for some of these guys. As far as I know, the 10 Fingers of Naples, they like it hot. They like, you know, I think it's a Mediterranean climate tomato, and here in Florida is pretty Mediterranean-ish. So I think that one's going to be okay. You know, again, I think in total I have 12. Yeah, I think I have 11 10 Fingers of Naples growing here. And then over here I've got the 4 Vesuvio. And then back here are my cracky totes. As you can see, I do have tomatoes. These are big beefs. This one is I want to say Cherokee Purple. And I think I've got the label down here. No, that one's a mortgage lifter, but that is not a mortgage lifter. It's too dark. So that might be a tomato gate. It's probably something like Black Prince would be my guess, but that's okay. It's still pretty good. Over here, I've got some other cuttings. I threw in, there's a tomato cutting I got from a friend. The one that I actually helped build the other system with. And then a volunteer actually that was growing next to my shed. That guy right there, I just wanted to see what it was, so I took a cutting off and planted it over here, see how it does. And then I think that's another 10 Fingers of Naples right there. It was a really good looking cutting, and I decided to take it and do something with it because I want to keep these guys, you know, very few liters, but at the same time I want them to have enough liters they produce a good amount. But I'm trying to get them taller before they go crazy. I'd like to get them up to maybe 7 feet tall, and then let them kind of branch out a little bit and do their thing, which they are getting pretty tall. Like this one right here, as you can see, there are flowers everywhere. You know, there's one of those crazy trusses I was telling you about where it just keeps extending. So I don't know. I'm letting some of these branch out a little bit. I just want to see what they can do. But anyways, that's about it for updates as far as I know. I haven't been doing anything else except focusing on these hydro systems. I'm probably going to give some more updates on the growth and the varieties on the next video. Haven't forgotten about electroculture on the raised bed, so that might be in the next video as well. And then I was thinking about doing the rack and stack system on the other side of this hoop house. So that's down the road also. Yeah, I appreciate everybody's time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. There's not a lot of details about 10 Fingers of Naples, not as much as I was hoping, and certain varieties. So if any of these varieties suit your fancy, you have more questions about them, something you've read is incorrect, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer it. But I wish you all a very wonderful day, and we'll stay tuned for the next one. Thank you very much. Please hit like and subscribe if you like this, and take care. Bye.